Je m'appelle Madame Cordel et nous sommes sur Bilingual FR. Alors, I hope your French GCSE exams have gone well so far. We have one paper left to revise for this year's GCSEs, and that's paper 4, okay, which is the writing paper. And that's the one we are going to focus on today. And we are going to do a walkthrough mock of the Hayati paper. And just to give you a little bit of information about this paper, so the time allowed is 1 hour and 15 minutes. And you will need to answer 3 questions. Question 1 is for 16 marks in total, and that will be split between the content and the quality of language. You will need to write approximately 90 words and ensure you answer all of the bullet points that you are given. I recommend you spend about 20 minutes on this question. Yeah, so that gives you approximately 5 minutes per bullet point in total. Okay. Next we have your higher tier question 2, which is an essay. So this one is longer than your first one. It's for a total of 32 marks, which is split between content, range of language, and accuracy. And you need to write around 150 words on 2 different bullet points for the second essay. 32 marks out of 60 points. You do the math, right? That's a good 50% of the overall marks for this paper. So if you have troubles with time management, start with this question first and then move on to question 1 before then going on to question 3. So the second essay, I recommend you spend about 37 minutes approximately. That gives you about 5 minutes planning and then about 8 minutes for each paragraph. So although you have 2 bullet points, I recommend you do 4 paragraphs, which will help you plan for your tenses. And last but not least, you have your question 3, which is the translation. For this one, it is 12 marks total. So you've got 6 marks for conveying the key messages and 6 marks for the application of grammatical knowledge of the language and the structures. So essentially, you will need to translate around 50 words from English into French. For this one, I recommend you spend about 12 minutes. That's about a minute per mark, right? And if you're ready, let's get started. C'est parti, on y va. Okay, so this is the paper we are going to do today. This is the 2020 higher tier writing paper. Okay, so you have 1 hour and 15 minutes to do it. And you have 3 questions to prepare. So I recommend spending approximately 20 minutes for the first question, 37 minutes approximately for the second one, 12 minutes for the translation, which gives you approximately 6 minutes to go over your writing and just do a quick check for accents, plurals, genders, don't forget the E, for the adjectives where they are describing a feminine noun. The total mark for this paper is 60. Remember, for your higher tier paper, you have the option of 2 questions to choose from. So you will have to answer either question 1.1 or question 1.2. Always select the question that inspires you the most, that you feel the most confident on. Answering a question just because it is a topic that may be a little bit harder will not give you extra points. Okay, so let's take a look at the first one. Alors, vous y mêlez votre correspondante sur votre petit job. Décrivez votre petit job, votre opinion du travail, vos activités récemment au travail, votre préférence pour le travail à l'avenir. Écrivez environ 90 mots en français, répondez à chaque aspect de la question. D'accord? So, this is your first question. Don't jump straight into it. Always double check the second one. Second one is, vous écrivez un article sur votre santé pour un magazine français. Décrivez ce que vous mangez, votre opinion du sport, une activité sportive le week-end dernier, votre style de vie à l'avenir. Okay, so you have two very different topics here to choose from. So I think last week when I did the foundation paper, I went for this question. So today I'm going to go for the other one, just to give you another example on a different topic that you can do. When you do this paper, remember that you shouldn't really go under the minimum amount of words that you are being asked to do. If you do, it probably means that you're not going to have followed accornid and incorporated all the things you need to reach the top band. Okay, so equal coverage is not necessary for all the bullet points, so as long as they are mentioned. If you miss out one of the bullet points, again, you will drop down a band. Okay, so that's very, very important to remember now, and ensure you check all of the bullet points when you do your writing. Okay, so a very good response for this question means that all aspects of the tasks are covered, and that your communication is clear, and you include a lot of information as well as your opinion. Ideally, I'd like you to try and justify it as well. Okay, so before you get started, I recommend you spend a few minutes deciding where your tenses are going to go, because that's probably going to be the most challenging part of your planning. Okay, so let's have a look at our first bullet point. So it's your job, the job that you're doing currently. So we're going to be using the present tense for that. Your opinion about the job, again, that's going to be the present tense. Une activité récente. Okay, so it's definitely going to be perfect tense. And the last one is going to be your preference for work in the future. So in here, we're going to need the near future, possibly the simple future. Bearing in mind that it's your preference for the future, we might need to incorporate the conditional here as well. Okay, so with the perfect tense, usually what I tend to do is incorporate the imperfects. For the first question, what's really important is that you cover the past, present, and the future tense. So here we have covered all of the tenses. Donc on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. D'accord? Alors, c'est parti. On va commencer à écrire. So you are writing an email. Donc, on va commencer par dire bonjour parce que c'est poli. Alors, you're describing your little job. It could be anything from housework that you could do for pocket money. It could be working in a supermarket, a charity shop. I'm going to choose the job of a waitress. Okay. Alors, je travaille comme serveuse dans un petit restaurant français, pourquoi pas. Voilà. Alors, je vais mettre du blanc, comme ça on verra plus les lignes. Alors, je fais le service du midi et celui du dîner aussi, tous les week-ends. Cela me permet de gagner un peu d'argent de poche. That's pocket money. Voilà. So remember, you need to incorporate your opinion at least twice. Okay? Alors, j'adore travailler car la nourriture est vraiment délicieuse. Okay, so here I have my opinion. I've justified it. I have my intensifier and an adjective. De plus, selon moi, l'équipe est très sympa. Malheureusement, unfortunately, je suis debout tout le temps, donc c'est super fatigant. I'm trying to diversify a little bit my intensifiers, as you've noticed. So I think that's enough for my second paragraph. Next is an activity that happened recently at work. Alors, le week-end dernier, j'ai servi, so here we're going to use the perfect tense, une cliente qui était, imperfect, tellement exigeante. C'était vraiment terrible. Elle. So I'm using the negative structures here because it's a little bit more complex structures that that you need to try and incorporate in all of your essays. Elle n'a pas aimé. So when you conjugate the perfect tense, remember SAP. So you need your subject, auxiliary, past participle. Elle n'a pas aimé, elle n'a vraiment pas aimé d'ailleurs, dans cette histoire, l'entrée. On va la justifier car elle a dit que c'était trop salé. Et on va continuer que le plat principal était froid. I think that's enough for my second paragraph. I incorporated the tenses that I set out to use, and I've tried to incorporate some of the accornit and do some checks as well at the same time. Okay, so now let's move on to the last paragraph, which is your preference for work in the future. À l'avenir, je voudrais devenir médecin. This is a nice and easy one to use in your writing. Je pense, I'm going to give my opinion, je pense que, I think that, ce sera, that's the simple future, vraiment gratifiant, it will be very rewarding, d'aider les autres, hein. En plus, je gagnerai, still simple future, I will earn, je gagnerai beaucoup d'argent. Cela va être, now this is the near future, we use the subject to go in the present tense, followed by the verb in the infinitive form. Donc, cela va être fantastique. À bientôt. Voilà. D'accord. Next, we are going to do the second question. So for the second question, again, you have two choices, 2.1 or 2.2. Make sure you use the one, again, that you feel the most confident with. So for this one, you will need to write around 150 words and cover both bullet points. Okay, so try and do 4 paragraphs again, like you did for the first one, and plan ahead to ensure you know what tenses you're going to be using in which paragraphs. But it doesn't really matter if all the paragraphs are not the same length. So for this question, to reach the top band for content, which is up to 15 marks, you need to have a nice detailed answer for this and include as much information as you possibly can, okay? Ensure your opinions are expressed and justified. I recommend you put one in each paragraphs to ensure you kind of check those boxes, okay? So in order to be able to use those tenses, you may need to use obviously different timeline, but it has to be relevant to the topic you are writing about. If you decide to, for example, in here, talk about completely unrelated topic, even if it's nicely written, it will not be marked. And you need to try and incorporate more complex sentences, okay, and handle them with confidence. So you need to incorporate your opinion, justify it. You can include negative structures and things like that. Let's start by planning. Alors, vous écrivez un blog sur l'adolescence. Décrivez pourquoi c'est bon d'être adolescent ou adolescente, un problème récent avec votre famille ou vos amis. Écrivez environ 150 mots en français. Répondez aux 2 aspects de la question et ça vaut 32 points. Donc ça, c'est la question 2.1. Pour la question 2.2, nous avons: vous écrivez un article sur l'environnement pour votre journal régional. Décrivez le problème de l'environnement dans votre région. Comment vous aiderez à protéger l'environnement à l'avenir? Écrivez environ 150 mots en français. Répondez aux 2 aspects de la question. Alors, aujourd'hui, on va faire la question 1. D'accord? Donc, pourquoi c'est bon d'être adolescent? Et on va parler d'un problème récent avec notre famille. So the first one straight up invites us to use the present tense. And the second bullet point is a recent problem, so it's going to be perfect tense. Okay. So what I'm going to try and do for the first bullet point is perhaps give an example as to why it is good to be a teenager. And I'm going to give them in the future because the second bullet point tells me that I have to use the past tense. So I'm going to use examples for the first bullet point and incorporate the near future as well as the simple future. Okay. For the second bullet points, because I already have the perfect tense, I'm also going to incorporate imperfect. And I'm also going to try to perhaps add the subjunctive, I think. And what have I got missing? I've also got missing the conditional. So I think I'm going to add it into the first bullet point. I'm going to add the conditional here. I'm going to try and have equal kind of like more or less number of tenses for both bullet points. Okay, so why is it good to be a teenager? You can start straight up by using your opinion. Okay, donc à mon avis, c'est vraiment bien d'être adolescent. Car if we're giving our opinions, so remember you need to justify it. car on est jeune et on a toute la vie devant nous. On a l'opportunité d'apprendre et d'essayer beaucoup de nouvelles choses avec nos amis. So now I said, I confirmed that it's good and why it's good. I'm going to give examples of it. OK? Donc, par exemple, la semaine prochaine, je vais faire... Qu'est-ce que je pourrais faire? Je vais peut-être mettre un fond blanc. Voilà. Je vais faire du tir à l'arc. Et qu'est-ce que je pourrais faire d'autre? De l'arbalète, tiens. C'est sympa, ça. Et de l'arbalète avec mon meilleur ami. Je vais donner mon opinion une deuxième fois. Je pense que ce sera, so in here, I'm in the simple future, that it will be inoubliable, unforgettable. That's a good adjective for you to try and use in writing, okay? Alors, so I'm gonna now go on to my second paragraph. But I'm still on the first bullet point, okay? So I've used so far the present and the near future as well as simple future. I haven't used the conditional yet. Alors, une autre raison pour laquelle c'est bon d'être, so keep looping back to the question, yeah? Adolescent. C'est negative structure. On n'a pas besoin, we don't need, de travailler. En effet. Alors, donc, nos parents payent pour... So, now I'm gonna give an example of this. Donc, l'été prochain, next summer, l'été prochain, j'aimerais, I would like, that's another bit more complex structure where you use a tense, verb in a tense, and then another one is infinitive form. J'aimerais essayer le tir au pigeon, pourquoi pas, d'argile. Voilà, j'adore les animaux. Donc, je ne pourrais, I couldn't, je ne pourrais jamais leur faire du mal. I could never hurt them. Alors donc, c'est un bon moyen d'essayer une nouvelle activité sportive tout en respectant les animaux. Voilà. Donc là, j'ai fini pour le premier point. So I finished answering the first bullet point. Now I'm going to move on to the second one. And try and use the perfect, imperfect, and the subjunctive in my next two paragraphs. So in here we have to talk about problem with a family member or friends. Alors, je m'entends très bien avec mes parents, mais je me dispute souvent avec mon frère. And okay, so now I've set the scene. Now I'm going to give an example. Alors, par exemple, la semaine dernière, qu'est-ce qu'on a fait? Non, pas pu se mettre d'accord sur quoi regarder la télé. Okay, here we go. So if you get stuck on the day of the exam, yeah, and you can't think of something that really happened, you can just make it up, okay? So in here, I used an example where two siblings argue over what to watch on TV. C'était, now this is the perfect, évidemment, here we go. So that was perfect and imperfect. I feel like I've used c'était quite a bit, so I'm going to try and give a proper example of the imperfect tense. Alors, quand on était, when we were, quand on était jeune, on ne se disputait jamais ou pas souvent, pas souvent. Allez. Voilà. On jouait toujours aux voitures, aux jeux et school. Maintenant, nous n'avons plus, we no longer have, les mêmes intérêts. Donc, c'est plus style. Il faut que. So when you use the expression il faut que, it is necessary that, we have to, we should, etc. When you have the que, you need to use the subjunctive afterwards. Donc, il faut que je fasse un effort pour l'écouter. À l'avenir, in the future, j'espère que l'on, because in the future, now I'm going to use the simple future, que l'on s'entendra vraiment bien. So this was for the second question. Try to remember to use your opinion to justify it. Use a couple of negative structures, intensifiers, adjectives. If you can, comparatives, which is also a more complex structures. And next, we are moving on to the translation. Here we are, third and final question. I get on well with my sister. So remember, when you do this translation, it's going to be broken down in different parts when you're being marked, yeah? And you will be getting like 12 checks essentially for each chunk of a sentence. I get on very well with my sister. Je m'entends très bien avec ma sœur. Donc, nous allons souvent au centre commercial ensemble. Yesterday, I gave some clothes to the homeless. Hier, j'ai donné des vêtements des sans-abri. I think that one must help others. Je pense qu'il faut aider les autres. After my studies at university, I hope to live abroad, where I will do voluntary work for a year. Alors, après mes études à l'université, j'espère, I hope, j'espère vivre à l'étranger, which means abroad, where I will do voluntary work for a year. Où je ferai, this is simple future, où je ferai du bénévolat pendant une année. Voilà pour la traduction. Et là, nous avons donc 12 points pour cette question. Voilà. Bon courage avec vos examens et je vous dis à très bientôt. Au revoir.